Hey, everybody. Welcome to the Personal Branding for Automotive Salespeople online masterclass. I'm your host, Terry Lancaster from sunny and beautiful Brentwood, Tennessee. Just below my face there, you've got the little comment box. Go ahead and plug in the comment box who you are and where you're from so we can get started sharing each other's stories and knowing where everyone is from, getting used to each other. We're going to get started here in just a little bit when everyone trickles in. But go ahead and put your name, where you're from in the comment box, and tell me something interesting about you. I am the world's finest middle-aged, overweight, born and raised in the Deep South ice hockey player. I play hockey a couple nights a week against guys usually half my age and probably 75% of my body weight. So tell me something interesting about you. We want to get used to sharing each other's stories. Go ahead and close all the tabs on your browser, all the other tabs on your browser. Turn your phone on silent, grab your pen, grab your worksheet so that you can follow along, write down all the information that we're going to be sharing. If you've got any questions throughout the course of the masterclass, plug them into the type box. If I don't get to address them during the session today, I'll reach out to you and let you know the answer. If you got any questions or problems, shoot those in there. And so I'm ready when you are, and away we go. Personal branding for automotive salespeople. In just a minute, we'll get into exactly what personal branding is, what it means to you, and what it means to your career. But right now, suffice it to say, you're in the right place if you are a car sales professional and you're tired of being treated like just another pushy, sleazy, slimy car sales jerk. No matter how good a guy you are, you never get a chance to prove it. If you're frustrated by being seen as a commodity, selling on negotiating on price alone, because everyone who walks in the door is an expert and they've all got a price from the website, you're in the right place. If you're just getting started in the car sale business, or you've been around the block, this isn't your first rodeo, but you recognize that what you've done to get to this stage in your career isn't what you need to do to get to the next stage in the career, you are in the right place. If you're a manager or dealer principal and you're exhausted from hiring and training salespeople only to have them leave as soon as they become trained and worth half a minute to send out on the car lot, they're gone because they decide the car sales business just isn't for them. If you're confused by all the people standing around by the front of the door waiting on the up bus instead of sitting inside, making phone calls, making connections, trying to build a business to bring in business, this is for you. And if you are the owner, the dealer principal, the manager, and you're ready to personalize your business by becoming the face of your business, to make your business a local, humanized entity in the sea of mass corporate commoditized dealerships, you are in the right place. So let's ask you a question. Why the heck are you here today? You're busy, I'm busy, everybody's busy. There's lots of things you could be doing to spend an hour today, but you decided to come here. So what problem in your life drove you here? Put the question there in the comment box. Let me know why you're here so I can make sure to get the information you need to help you. Here's the big problem, and this isn't news. Everybody knows this. The internet has turned the car business upside down. It was just a couple of years ago when someone got ready to buy a car, they'd pick up the newspaper and they'd visit 6 or 7 dealerships before they decided to make a purchase, before they whipped out their checkbook. And that means 6 or 7 different salespeople had a chance to make a first impression, had a chance to start building a relationship with them. But these days, over 80% of all car buyers begin their search online. And they research everything online. They research the dealerships online. They research the manufacturers online. They research everything online, and they know exactly what they want. And they only visit 1.2 dealerships before they ever make a purchase. So that means only 1 or 2 car salespeople ever get a chance to make an impression on them. 1 or 2 car salespeople ever get a chance to build a relationship with them. The fact is, if you're not on their shopping list before they start shopping, you're out of luck. Now more than ever, you never get a second chance to make a first impression. And the odds are pretty good. Your first impression these days is going to happen online. It's either going to happen on Google, it's going to happen on your social media profiles. You are who Google says you are. We Google everyone. If we hire a babysitter, we Google them. If someone's going to walk our dog, we Google them. If we're going to buy a car, we Google the dealership. The question is, are we Googling the salesperson? And I had this conversation with a big muckety-muck in the car business a couple of months ago, and he's a social media guy, and he says it doesn't matter. Doesn't matter for salespeople whether they're active on LinkedIn and whether they have their profiles updated and whether Google knows anything about them, because people don't Google their salespeople. Well, I have a little bit of different information. I know Google says people are Googling their salespeople, but only under certain circumstances, because the vast majority of people don't know who their salesperson is until they walk in the dealership. They research everything online. They figure out what car they're going to buy. They figure out where they're going to buy it. Then they go to the dealership, and then they meet their salesperson who's standing out front waiting for the up bus. And if you're okay with that, if that's the career path you've chosen and you want to help people when they walk in the door, that's fine. Go ahead. But you don't need to worry about what Google says about you then, because no one's going to find you until they walk in the dealership. And you don't need this. You can probably go ahead and leave now, save the hour. But if that's not who you want to be, if you want to be the kind of person who people are coming in to see, if you want a tribe, a nation of loyal customers who are coming to do business with you, people that you have a relationship with, people who are sending you referrals, they're going to look you up on the internet before they get there. And you better be aware of what Google is saying about you. Now, the fact is, people don't make buying decisions for logical reasons. People make buying decisions for emotional reasons, and they use logic to rationalize their decisions. They use logic to justify their decisions. They use logic to explain their decisions both to themselves and everyone else. So even after they've done all that research online, they've researched everything to within an inch of its life. They know exactly what they need. They know exactly how much they're going to pay. They know exactly what the interest rate is. They know exactly everything the moment they walk in the door. But they don't always leave with the vehicle that they came in to buy. Something happens at the dealership. Either they see a vehicle that they love and they decide to buy that one, or they decide that the numbers didn't work out and they can't afford the vehicle that they actually wanted and they have to buy something else. Or maybe a helpful salesperson shows them a way to afford the vehicle they really wanted. They really wanted and they didn't think they could afford, so they walk out with the big SUV with the third row seat because a helpful salesperson showed them how. NADA says that 71% of all car buyers end up signing on the dotted line. They close the deal mainly because they liked and they trusted their salesperson. At the end of the day, every car deal ever made boils down to this. It's you sitting across the table, handing someone a pen, smiling, getting them to trust you, getting them to be comfortable enough so that they can make the second largest financial decision of their life. People buy from people they know, like, and trust. And they refer friends and family to people they know, like, and trust. And this is where the money is, because referrals from friends and family are the second leading source of car buyers. Most car buyers come straight from the internet, but the second chunk comes from people who were referred directly to a salesperson who's going to get looked up on Google, who's going to get researched. And this is how you start building a tribe, a nation, an army of car buyers. If you're in sales, you're in the business of making friends. That's the way it's always been. Here's my buddy Kenny Landrum from Toyota Bowling Green explaining how this works in the car business.
When I go to church and I notice somebody that has a car from Toyota Bowling Green, and I start to think, wow, I work at Toyota Bowling Green. I go to church with these people, and they bought a car from someone else.
Yeah.
So I began to create the awareness on Facebook.
Yeah.
Really, was where the impact has come from. When a customer or potential customer sees their friend tagged in Facebook on a video,
yeah,
that gives me it's given me a wider audience.
Yeah.
And that audience sees that, and those likes on that Facebook post is, oh, wow, if Susie bought a car from Kenny, maybe I should give Kenny an opportunity when I'm looking.
The good news is you possess the greatest device in the history of the universe for making friends, your smartphone. Mine's sitting right here on the desk. It's about 6 inches from my hand. It's rarely farther away from me than that, and I'm willing to bet yours is exactly the same way. Your smartphone is the greatest device ever invented for connecting with huge networks of people, both around the world and in your hometown. It can help you build an army of car buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. Here's Mike Carrera from Walters Automotive in Southern California telling how you can use your smartphone to influence buyers to make friends without ever seeming pushy.
If you're sharing what you care about, you love, and you have a passion for, it's not seen as blasting or selling. You're just sharing, and people are going to get involved in it, and not everybody will, and that's okay. But if someone does need help and someone does decide to come to you, that trust is already kind of built. You don't have to start all over, at the base level and build that trust. They already kind of trust you. They respect you. They know that you're going to help them by doing the right thing, and the process is quick and easy.
Now, you've got a choice. You can wait for the car buyers to show up at the finish line. You can stand around the dealership with everyone else waiting for the up bus. And when they show up, hope they like you enough so that they can close the deal. Or here's your other option. You can meet them at the starting line and run the race with them. And the starting line is on the internet when they start the research. And if they meet you back then, before they start researching everything, before they know exactly what they want and exactly how much they're going to pay and exactly what interest rate is, if you meet them back then, as they're taking this journey toward the second largest financial decision of their life, you can shower them with positive reviews from your customer. This is social proof, and we're going to talk more about this a little later on, but social proof that you are good at what you do, that you are helpful, that you are a valuable resource to them. And you can be valuable by giving them helpful content along the way. They're looking for information. They're researching vehicles. You can give them the information that they need, the information that you need them to have to help them make this decision. And most importantly, you can give them genuine, sincere human interaction. Be nice. Always be nice. Talk. Share, friend, make jokes, share funny stories from your life, share funny stories from their life. Be a decent human being online and start building these human bonds, these human interactions. Now, I've heard people say that friends online aren't the same as real friends in life, that Facebook friends, that's just Facebook friends. It doesn't mean anything. But the fact of the matter is, 1/3 of all marriages these days begin is online relationships. We've already learned that 80% of all car sales begin online. What happens online isn't virtual reality anymore. What happens online is reality. This is the way the world works today. And if you can start forming friends online, you can start building connections online, you can start being a resource and a valuable tool to people online. In the old days, you heard people say that you had to build your network before you need your network. And this was when people had Rolodexes on their decks. And that was who you could reach out to. It wasn't who you knew. It wasn't what you knew. It was who you knew. And that was true. Today, the internet has turned that upside down because you have to build your network before your network needs you. And it's not even who you know anymore. It's not what you know. It's who knows you and who's going to reach out to you for information, for confirmation when they start to make this big decision. Jim Keenan, who's the author of the book Not Taught, What It Takes to Be Successful in the 21st Century That Nobody's Teaching You. Jim says the most valuable asset you own isn't your house, it's your social media presence, your online reputation. Salespeople who use social selling techniques like personal branding are 6 times more likely to reach quota than those who don't. And they outperform those who avoid social tools 71% of the time. But despite all that, 75% of all salespeople say they've received 0 training in social selling and personal branding techniques. But we're going to change all of that today. If you'll stick with me for the next hour or so, we're going to talk about the big mistake that almost every salesperson makes with their personal brand. We're going to talk about the #1 strategy for dominating Google searches for your name and for spreading the story of you. And finally, we're going to learn the dirty little secret that no one else is telling you about social selling. So if you'll stick around for all that for me, if you'll stick around to the end of the session, I've got a free bonus for you. I've got my personal branding toolbox. Now what this is a list of websites and apps and tools to help you save time and money when you're spreading the story of you, to help you save time and money when you're using your social media, building your personal brand. But it's much, much more than just a list of websites and apps. It's my personal database, my personal contacts. If you called me and said, Terry, I need someone to help me build my website, I would give you a name and a number. This is who you call. This is who can help you. That's in the personal branding toolbox. If you needed someone to help you write some copy, I would give you a name and a number. That's in the personal branding toolbox. This is the I know a guy toolbox. If you call me looking for a plumber, I'm not going to send you to a list. I'm going to send you someone's name and number. And that's what you get in here. You get a name and a number. The actual people that I use, the actual people that other personal branding professionals use, their name, their number, their contact info. And I've also got a special offer for you that's only going to be available to people who sit through to the end of this strategy session. So who the heck is Terry Lancaster, and why should you listen to me? Well, there's my first known portrait. I was a disc jockey in college, but I wasn't very good at it. And I found out I wasn't good at it when I walked in one night for my shift, and my replacement was sitting in my chair. And he said, hey, you need to call the boss. So they ended up demoting me from disc jockey to copywriter. But one thing as I learned writing copy for a radio station was that, man, there's a lot of car dealers on the radio. So when I graduated from college, I got me a job selling some radio advertising. And I moved to Tupelo, Mississippi. And the first thing I did is I went to call on the local Ford dealership. And I went into the store, and I had my new JCPenney suit on and my new fake leather shoes. And I'm carrying my charts and my graphs and my coverage maps. And I walk in, the big boss man sitting up on the tower. I walk over with my best smile, and I start talking to him. And I'm showing him the charts and the graphs, and I've got statistics, and I'm just, I'm going through every bit of training that I've got, and he's not buying it. The more I talk, the less he wants to hear. And finally, he stands up, and he pushes himself away from the desk, and he hitches his shoulders back, and he pushes his suit jacket away from his waistband. Got his hands down near his waistband. So, son, I told you once, I'm not buying any of your damn advertising. You need to get the hell out of this store. Now, I don't know if he was actually trying to show me that he had a gun, or if he always was fiddling around with his waistband when he talked, if he always talked like John Wayne. But the man told me to get out of his store, so I got out of his store. And I swear I couldn't make this up. The name of that store, Friendly Ford. Well, what I did when I left Friendly Ford is I went across the street to this little Mazda dealer, and I started talking to him. And the Mazda dealer ended up becoming the #1 local advertiser on the station. And when Friendly Ford had their franchise revoked for underperformance, and Ford put new managers in there and new ownership in there, I went across the street and I made them the #1 local advertiser on the station. Then I moved to Memphis, Tennessee, worked at FM 100. FM 100 was the most powerful station in the nation, and I became an automotive specialist for them. And just about 20 years ago, Jeff Lee, my business partner, and I, we started Instant Events Automotive Advertising. And for the last 2 decades, we've been producing the biggest, loudest, most obnoxious car ads in the history of big, loud, obnoxious car ads, working with car dealers from Moose Jaw, Saskatchewan to Miami, Florida. I've done that most of the time, working at home, sitting in my underwear, flying under radar. And we had all the business we could handle, and we wanted to fly under radar. We stayed low key. But I started paying attention to all this personal branding information that I'm talking about now a few years back when I had a client leave a dealership I was working for. He's a good client. He was buying a couple of radio spots every month, and in and out, he was consistent. And one day I call, and he's not there anymore. I said, where's Johnny? Johnny doesn't work here anymore. Well, how can I get in touch with Johnny? Johnny doesn't work here anymore. Does he have any contact? We don't know anything about Johnny. Nobody wants to talk about Johnny, and I come to find out that maybe he left the dealership under not the best of circumstances. Maybe he had to leave in the middle of a shift with an armed guard and didn't get to pack everything from his desk like he wanted to. Sometimes happens in the car business, but Johnny disappeared from the face of the earth, and I didn't hear from him for years. And the new guy didn't buy my stuff, so I lost years worth of revenue. And a few years go by, and I get a phone call, and it's Johnny. Dude, I have been looking all over for you for the last 3 years. He said, I knew Terry Lancaster. You were the guy I always dealt with. You were the guy I talked to. You're my buddy. He said, but I didn't have a card. So I just couldn't remember the name of your company. Now, the name of the company was Instant Events. And if he had remembered the name of the company, he could have gone online, and I was all over the web online. If you Googled Instant Events, you could find Instant Events. But I never thought about making myself findable. But here was a guy who wanted to give me money, a friend of mine who wanted to give me money, who knew, like, and trusted me, and he couldn't give me a check because he couldn't find me. And that's the day I went out and I registered terrylancaster.com. And I wanted to make sure if anyone wanted to give me a check, that they could find me to give me a check. And I started doing, I kept that up there, but I didn't do much with it. I wasn't super active with it, and I wasn't writing much on it. It was just there. It was a listing, but it was on Google, so it served its purpose. And social media came along, and I started using social media pretty much the same as everyone else did, just to see who got fat, just to see who gossiped, just to see who got divorced from high school, just for the normal junky stuff. But I never thought about using it for business purposes. And about 4 years ago, a guy by the name of J.D. Rucker came out with a list of the most influential people in the car business. And I'll explain what a clout score is later on, but this is everyone in the car business who had a clout score of 50 or above. And there was maybe 60, 70 people on the list. I guess I don't really remember. But I wasn't on the list because I had a clout score of 49. And it occurred to me that here was a list of people, car buyers, car dealers could do business with. This was being floated around the industry. People were seeing this. This was something that could be generating business for me, and I wasn't on it because I wasn't taking social media seriously. So that's the day I started taking social media seriously, and I connected with everyone who was on that list, and I connected with other leaders in the car business, and I started writing for Dealer Marketing Magazine, and I started writing on different websites, and I started using social media to develop this idea of me as being an expert in the car business. And eventually I get invited to give a speech. Jim Ziegler, the Alpha Dog, he invited me to come down to the Sales Management Super Conference in Dallas, Texas. Now, I'd done some writing, but I'd never done any speaking. And I was nervous. I was scared out of my mind. And I practiced every day for 6 months, and I memorized this entire speech, and I had every line down and every dramatic pause and every dramatic gesture, and I was good to go. And I get on the plane, and I fly to Dallas, and I get there just fine, but my luggage ends up in Milwaukee, and I end up spending the entire first day of the conference wandering around in my travel clothes. I got on a pair of ratty shorts, and I got on flip-flops, and I got on a wrinkled Charlie Sheen wannabe shirt, and it's like that nightmare that you have where you show up for high school, and it's the last day of school, and there's an exam that day, and you're not wearing any pants. And I go like this the entire day. And even at the cocktail party, the meet and greet session later that night, I'm wandering around. Hi, I'm Terry Lancaster. I'm the marketing professional. I'm going to tell you how to help spend your $500,000 advertising budget, and I can't afford big boy pants. My luggage ends up showing up that first night, and I go on stage to speak the second day. But by the time that I get on stage, I'm already flustered because I've spent the first day living out this nightmare. And because I'm flustered and I'm nervous, I decide that I have to have my notes. And because I have to have my notes, I decide that I have to wear my reading glasses. And because I'm reading my notes and my reading glasses, I can't step away from the lectern. And I've got my hands on the lectern, giving it the white knuckle death grip, like my life depends on hanging onto this thing. And I'm sweaty and pale and got the flop sweats going on. And I can't make eye contact with anyone because I'm wearing my reading glasses, and everything that's more than 15 feet away from me is just a giant blur. And I proceeded to give the most mediocre speech in the history of mediocre speeches. I mean, it wasn't horrible. No one threw rotten vegetables at me or anything, but no one in that room, and there were maybe 50 or 60 car dealers in the room, no one in that room at that time has ever spent a dime with me. I was not impressive. That's the bad news. Those 50 or 60 people knew I wasn't impressive. But I've made $40,000, over $40,000 actually. I've made over $40,000 from that one crappy speech because I ended up talking about it, promoting it, advertising it on social media, on Facebook, on Google, telling the world about how I was this big-time automotive expert speaking at the Sales Management Super Conference, and I got the word out there, and people started calling me from me talking about it, and I ended up making 40 grand. And since that time, I've been invited to speak at a TEDx conference. I spoke at the National Automobile Dealers Association. I've written in Forbes. I've written in the Good Men Project. And last year, I wrote Better, Self-Help for the Rest of Us, which became a #1 best-selling book on Amazon. And all of this happened because people started listening to what I had to say, because I looked like I knew what I was talking about. And if you Google me these days, Google's going to tell you that I help salespeople build an army of buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. And it's not going to tell you that one time or two times. On the first page of Google, on a search for my name, Google's going to tell you exactly that in exactly those words, because that's exactly what I've trained Google to tell you. It's going to tell you 5 or 6, maybe even 7 times. You are who Google says you are. So that's who I am.
The story you tell the world changes your world. Absolutely 100% certain it changed mine, and I'm absolutely 100% certain that it can change yours. So now let's talk about exactly what a personal brand is. And no, it doesn't have anything to do with what color tie you wear. And it's not about being a ninja, a guru, or a rock star. In fact, your personal brand isn't even about you. Your personal brand is the idea of you that exists in the minds of others. I'm kind of a math nerd, so I've got a formula for this. We talked earlier about how the internet has changed the world around, and it's not about what you know now. It's not about who you know now. It's about who knows you. And your personal brand is simply a product of who knows you and how you make them feel. At the base level, it's your relationships, time, your reputation. That is your personal brand. And the best way to ruin your reputation is to run around talking about how great your reputation is. I almost called this seminar, I was going to call it today, Personal Branding Without Being a Jerkwad, because that's exactly what everyone thinks of when they start talking about building their personal brand. They want to start talking about how great they are and all the things that they've done and everything about them. But it's not about you. We learned all this in Sales 101. Our first day selling, that we're to sell benefits, not features. No one buys shampoo, but everyone wants to buy good hair days. So start thinking in terms of the benefits of who you are, not the features of who you are. It's the big mistake. I call it the resume mistake. Everyone wants to list our tasks, our titles, our trophies. The titles that have been bestowed upon us, what the things that we're good at doing, and the awards that we've won, but nobody cares about any of that. People only care what's in it for them. So instead of talking about your tasks, titles, and trophies, start talking about what's in it for the people who know you. We all have these elevator speeches, and we've been told that we have to learn to describe who we are and what we do in 2 minutes or less. The problem is, today, we mostly don't meet people in elevators. We meet them online. And we don't have 2 minutes to deliver an elevator speech. We've got honestly, about 6 seconds. So what I'm going to teach you now is how to take the elevator speech into the 21st century. Take the elevator speech out of the internet, out of the elevator, and onto the internet. I call it the Micro Manifesto. And I've got another formula for this too. 25 words or less. I help who, fill in the blank, do what, fill in the blank. And 25 words, very specific reason. One, that's 6 or 7 seconds. But more specifically, about 25 words is going to be how much information Google will pull from any content to place on the first page of Google when they're doing a search for your name. 25 words is what Google is going to sum you up as. That's who you are according to Google. You get 25 words, so you need to craft the perfect 25-word definition of who you are and who you can help and how you can help them. I help who do what. So let's think about the who part. Think for a minute about who your favorite customers are. Who do you enjoy doing business with? Who is it never a chore to sit down and actually work a deal with? New families, new parents, new graduates, people who are having trouble financing, people who have perfect credit, people who are looking for exotic sports cars and you know how to get them. Who are the people you enjoy working with? Now think about the people that you make the most money from, because those two, I find, often go hand in hand. And then think about the people that there are enough volume of, because it doesn't matter how much you enjoy working with someone. It doesn't matter how much you make working with someone. There has to be more than that someone. There has to be multiples. There has to be volume. So think about volume, think about gross, and think about what you actually enjoy doing, and decide who your favorite customers are and start trying to describe those people. And once you know who those people are, start thinking about what problems you solve for them. What pain do you alleviate? What headaches do you make go away? How do you help make their lives better? How do you solve their transportation problems? What's your superpower? Like I said, maybe you can get them financed when no one else can. Maybe you can find them the exact car that they're looking for. Maybe you can help them afford a little more car than they had. Maybe you're better at getting higher dollars for their trade. Think about your superpower, what you can do for them. And I love this graphic. This is a Venn diagram. What you're looking for is your purpose, your place on the map, and your sweet spot exists in the center where the demand, passion, and skill overlap. What are you good at? That's your skill. What do you like to do? That's your passion. And what are people willing to pay you to do? That's the demand. If you can find the spot where those three things overlap, that's your purpose, that's your superpower. That's how you can be the most helpful to the people in your world. So here's my micro manifesto. I help salespeople build an army of car buyers who know, like, and trust you before they've ever even met you. Here's one for a car salesman in Nashville. I help Nashville families find the perfect car for them and eliminate the stress from the second largest financial decision of their lives. That's what they do. Here's another one. I help good people with bad credit get a ride even if the water company makes them pay up front to flush. I help who? Good people with bad credit. Do what? Get a ride even if their credit's so bad the water company makes them pay up front to flush. That is a micro manifesto. So who do you help and how do you help them? What's your micro manifesto? Now you could spend weeks thinking about this. You can spend weeks crafting this, and you're probably going to be thinking about this for the rest of your life. You probably need to be. But for right now, let's take just a minute and throw your first draft up there in the comment box. No judgment. No one's going to judge you. No one's going to say anything, but let's start thinking about it. Go ahead and plug yours in. Who do you help? How do you help them? And then we can start crafting it, honing it down, chipping it away till it says exactly what you want it to say. But don't get it confused. The Micro Manifesto isn't your personal brand. The Micro Manifesto is the seed that grows into the idea of you. It's the seed that becomes your personal brand in the minds of others. But like any seed, it's completely worthless unless you put it in the right soil, unless you nourish it, unless you grow it. Now we're going to talk about the number one strategy for growing that seed. The number one strategy, pretty much the only strategy for dominating Google searches for your name and for spreading the story of you. I already showed you how my Micro Manifesto is on the front page of Google 5 or 6 times. So now we're going to learn how to train Google to tell your story the way you want your story told. And you train Google and you train Facebook the same way you train a puppy to roll over. Reward and repetition. But Google's not interested in your doggy treats, and Facebook isn't interested in your doggy treats. Google and Facebook only want one thing from you, and this is the thing that you can give them to reward them over and over and over again when they tell the story you want told. Create more content. Google and Facebook eat content all day long. They are content machines. They take content in one ear, they swish it around, they mix it up, they match it up, they spit it out the other, they run it through their algorithms, and they use that to attract eyeballs. They are content manipulation machines, and that's what they want from you, and that's how you're going to get their attention and get them to work for you instead of against you. And this is the same thing that everyone's trying to figure out. The internet's turned not just the car business upside down, it's turned every industry upside down, and particularly the media business, because the media business is content creation and consumption. They're all looking for those eyeballs, and those eyeballs are now being filtered through the internet. So you've got the same problems and situations you're trying to solve to get your content out there, to get your story out there, that the Wall Street Journal is trying to solve, that CBS News is trying to solve, that USA Today is trying to solve. Your voice can be heard today in ways that it's never been able to be heard before, farther than it's ever been able to be heard before. And you have the exact same technology that the media titans are still trying to figure out. And you can use this without having billions of dollars, without having gallons of ink, without having thousands of local affiliates. All it takes is your smartphone. You can start a blog. You can sit down today, write 500 words, post it up. You can have a blog in 30 minutes. Your smartphone has a camera 10 times better than what Dan Rather had at the CBS Evening News. It's HD. The phone, the camera in your pocket is better than any camera that existed in the world 15 years ago. You can make a video, you can do a walk around for the cars, you can make a video with your kids, you can make videos on any subject. It takes 3 minutes, you can upload it to Facebook, you can upload it to YouTube, you can put it on your website, boom, you can shoot it around. 3 minutes, the best quality in the world, and you've got the potential right in your pocket. You can take pictures. We heard earlier from Mike Carrera in Southern California, and he loves Instagram. Instagram is his thing because he loves cars and he loves taking pictures. And he never set out to build a huge Instagram following. He would just see a cool car in Southern California. There's always a cool car in Southern California, and he'd take a picture. He'd post it up on his Instagram page. He'd post it up on his Google Plus page. He'd post it on his Facebook page. And over time, people started following him to see the cool pictures because that was his passion. He loves cars. He loves taking pictures of them. He loves sharing them. And he sells cars from this too. People will see a cool car that he posted, and maybe they don't call and they want to buy that car, but it starts a conversation. And 2 weeks later, he's selling their wife a van because 2 weeks ago they commented on this cool F-150 that he had posted. It's seldom a direct line, but you take pictures, and again, you've got the best camera in the world right there in your pocket. 30 seconds, one shutter click, boom, you post it and spread it across the world. And podcast. I love podcasts. These are my new favorite thing. And I'd never even started thinking about podcasts until a few months ago when my book came out. I had a buddy before tell me that I should think about getting involved in them because he knew I had a radio background and he thought I might like that, thought I might be good at it. But I work from home, so I don't have a commute. And when I run and I exercise, I like to listen to myself thinking about running and exercising instead of putting music or something in my ear. So I never listened to podcasts. But when my book came out, I started getting invited on these podcasts, and one led to another. And the more I talked on them, the more I got invited to do others. And I've been on dozens of podcasts in 7 different countries on 3 different continents, spreading my message, telling the tale of me sitting at home in my underwear with a microphone. So you can start a podcast about the car business. You can start a podcast about your local sports teams. You can start a podcast about whatever is of interest to you. All it takes is a microphone. You can record it into your cell phone if you want. If you want to buy a good microphone, the one I'm using cost about $100. You can plug it in. You can have a podcast up in 30 minutes, and you can spread that as far as you want it. You've got everything you need. You don't have an excuse, and everyone wants to wait for when. If things need to be perfect, things need to be great. I need better equipment. I need to spend more money, but you don't need to spend more money, and you don't need better equipment, and things don't need to be perfect. All you need to do is get started. bashful salespeople have skinny children. The only way to do it is to do it. But you have to post more than just videos of funny cats doing funny tricks. And this is one of the things people worry about on social media is I don't want to put all my friends on blast. I don't want to come off as salesy. I don't want to be a jerkwad. Well, you don't have to be salesy and you don't have to be a jerkwad, but every once in a while, you have to do more than post pictures of cats, than post something. You have to talk about business. Gary Vaynerchuk wrote a book called Jab, 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 Right Hook. And this is probably the single best book on this subject I've ever read. And you can buy the book. You should buy the book. You should read the book. But I'm going to sum it up for you real quick here. He says social media is like a boxing match. And you don't want to think of your customer as the opponent. But for this metaphor, we're going to think of the customer as our opponent. And you have your left jab. And you jab them with pictures of your cats. You jab them with pictures of your kids. You jab them talking about the local high school football team. You jab them talking about your exercise regimen, whatever you want to talk about, and you're feeling them out. You're lowering their defenses. You're getting to know them. You're building that relationship. You're creating rapport. You're doing all those things. That's jab, 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 jab. But every once in a while, you're in business to create business. So every once in a while, you've got to ask for the order. You've got to talk about business. You've got to get belly to belly. You've got to make them an offer. You've got to try to sell something. And that's the big right hook. Jab, 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 right hook. Every once in a while, you got to throw the big one. We're going to teach you how to ask for the order early, often, and without seeming pushy. And this is the dirty little secret about social media. There is no free lunch. Social media isn't free advertising. In fact, it isn't advertising at all, and it definitely isn't free. I've already told you what Google and Facebook want from you. They want more content. If you're going to create more content, you have to devote more time. So it's not free. It takes content. It takes time. Now, I mentioned earlier that you're going to get a copy of my personal branding toolbox. In there, there's a list of tools to help save you time, to lower the amount of time that you're spending creating content, distributing your content, connecting with your customers, and building this army of people who know, like, and trust you. A couple of the websites that I use regularly, every day: Reportive, Hootsuite, Status Brew, Social Jukebox. There's dozens more. You're going to get that if you'll stick around to the end of the webinar, and I will tell you how. But the thing to remember about Google and about Facebook and about all the other social media and everything that you use, they're only in it for the money. They're not nonprofit organizations. They're in business to make money the same as you are in business to make money. And if you're not the customer, you're the product. I've told you that they want content because content attracts eyeballs. They want your content. They want your attention. And they take this content and this attention and they repackage and they manipulate it and they sell the content to other eyeballs and they sell your eyeballs to other people. Now, I've always said that the greatest advertising in the world would be if someone would take the video capabilities and the audio capabilities of a television commercial that's a moving picture that attracts attention. It's got lots of shiny moving objects to really grab everyone's attention. And if you could combine that with the targetability of direct mail, then you would have the perfect advertising medium. And that's exactly what Facebook has created. And the way that you reach this perfect advertising medium is with your Facebook fan page. The quickest, surest, easiest way to attract attention on the internet is to pay for it. Facebook fan pages give you pinpoint targetability. You can reach exactly the people you want to reach. I said earlier that it has the targetability of direct mail. You can narrow it down to zip code. You can narrow it down to the street level. You can narrow it down to certain radiuses around your store. You can narrow it down to people who have interest in certain cars. You can narrow it down to people who've expressed an interest in buying certain cars. You can narrow it down to people with certain lifestyles. If you only want to deal with new parents or recent college graduates, you can only advertise to new parents and recent college graduates. You can reach exactly who you want to reach. You can reach the who in your Micro Manifesto. You can pick it and narrow it down and target it straight to them. You can build a custom audience. If you have an email database, and if you don't have an email database, get busy building you an email database. But you can take your email database and you can upload it to Google. You can upload it to Facebook, and you can only advertise to those people. You can take all of your previous customers and upload it and advertise only to them. You can take your people who you go to church with and advertise to them. You can take people on your PTA. Any email list that you have, you can upload to Google, you can upload to Facebook, and you can advertise to those people. And the beauty part of this is it's not permission based. There's all kind of rules and regulations about you can't email people unless you have double opt-in permission to email them. And if you don't have double opt-in permission, then your email is going to get listed as spam, and it's going to get kicked back, and all this bad stuff is going to happen to you. But you don't need permission to load them into your custom audience. All you need is their email address. Retargeting is another one of my favorite things. This is when you visit a website, and for the next 3 days, you see ads for that website all over the web. Well, you can do the exact same thing with Google and Facebook, and it only costs pennies. For the typical car dealer, only 2% of the people who visit a website are going to give you their contact info. If you have your own personal website, most people who visit your website to read your blog, to look at your videos, to look at your pictures, they're not going to give you their contact info unless you have a specific offer, a specific reason that you're using to build your email list. But this gives you an opportunity to reach those people regardless of whether they've given you your contact info or not. If they come to your webpage to read a blog post that you put on, to look at a picture that you uploaded, to look at a new video that you've created, they're automatically, you don't have to do a thing, they're automatically added to your retargeting list, and then Google is showing them ads wherever they go. Facebook is showing them ads wherever they go. And this is exactly how I earned 40 grand from that one crappy speech that I did in Dallas. The speech was horrible. Nobody gave me any money because they heard that speech, but I created a video promoting the speech and talking about the speech and talking about the ideas, 90-second video. And I uploaded my customer base to Google and to Facebook. And I set retargeting cookies on my webpage and on my company's webpage. And for 6 weeks, everyone I was affiliated with, everyone who visited my webpage saw this video of me talking about how I'm going to be speaking at the Sales Management Super Conference in Dallas, Texas, how I'm going to be talking about spending your advertising dollars and adjusting your marketing mix. And the more I put that out there, the more people started recognizing me as an expert. The more that I seemed like I knew what I was talking about, the more people were willing to listen to what I had to say. And the customers started calling me, and they started asking me questions about stuff that they weren't asking me questions about before. And they came to me with bigger problems. And if you start solving bigger problems, you're going to get bigger checks. So I'm not sure why you showed up here today. What problems are you looking to solve? Maybe you just want to sell more cars and make more money, and that's fine. Everyone wants to make more money. We're all in it for the money. That's why we call it work. Maybe you're tired of being treated like a number. Maybe you're tired of being treated like a robot, like you're just a cog in a great big wheel, and you're doing exactly what the bosses tell you to do, and you're just there between the bosses and the customers, and everyone's already got all these ideas, and you're just a cog in the middle to keep the wheels turning, and you never get a chance to interact on a human level. Or maybe you are the boss, and maybe you're looking for ideas to help your staff take advantage of these incredible opportunities that have never existed in the world before to help build their business inside your business. I don't know why you're here, but I do know that you're ready for a change. If you weren't ready for a change, you wouldn't have showed up to watch today. And I do know that you recognize the value in what we've been talking about. You get it, or you wouldn't have stuck around this long. So your options boil down to this. You can take what we've talked about today. You can take the Micro Manifesto, and you can take the social advertising, and you can use this, and you can be head and shoulders above 90-95% of the salespeople in the world. And you can do it the fast way, or you can do it the slow way like I did it. It took me 10 years to figure all this out. And you can try one thing, tweak this and tweak that, or you can take the super highway. You can do it the hard way, by yourself, one thing at a time, tweaking this, tweaking that, or you can do it the easy way. You can get some help. Albert Einstein said that everything should be made as simple as possible, but no simpler. And last year when my book came out, I swear this is true. Last year when the book came out, 9 out of the 10 best-selling books in the self-help category were adult coloring books, because everyone's looking to color by numbers. Everyone's looking for a system. Now, I'm not a rocket scientist, and I'm definitely not Albert Einstein. I'm not an artist. I'm no Picasso. I'm just a guy who worked and tweaked and toiled away at this for 10 years until I cracked the code